What did a crush do that made you instantly lose interest in him or her? She asked me to go to prom. I said yeah. 2 days before prom, I actually don't want to go with you, but I already bought both of our tickets. As the guy, I expect you to pay me back for them. I tried to explain that's not how transactions work. She kept telling me it was my responsibility. I asked if she was smoking crack, never heard from her again. He threw my sister's birthday card for our mom out of the car window as a joke. Even though my sister told him she spent 6 hours making it, he made my sister cry. I would have liked to throw him out of the window, but we were young at the time, coming home from school, and a driver was set to pick the three of us. I did ask the driver to stop the car, but it was the middle of the road, so he said we can't. Didn't defend me when his friends tried to assault me, just laughed with them. This is the long version of the story. I have never been popular, was always bullied and stuff. One of the things people told me was that I was a prude because I never had a boyfriend at that point. Apparently some of my classmates got inspired by that and started a bet. Whoever could do me in, a slang word in my language that can mean anything from making out to sex, would win. Every contestant put in a certain amount of money. At the height of the contest, it was about $100 that would be their prize. All of a sudden, I was invited to popular parties. People tried to make me drink. Random people started talking to me, flirting, groping. More and more people became aware of the bet, so even people I had never talked to or who were complete strangers to me started to hit me up. It was weird. I was still in the dark about the bet and I didn't get why some guys, sometimes even girls, wanted to hang out with me or wanted to see me drink. Luckily for me, I don't drink, but it was all very uncomfortable. My crush and I went on a school trip together with the rest of our year, and all of a sudden things get out of hand. People groping me now, the supervision of teachers is half gone, people trying to ask me if I ever kissed someone. The most scary experience was when a couple of guys cornered me in a park and told me very detailed how they wanted to have sex with me. Some of them were my classmates, some of them were my friends of my crush. One of them was my crush. You can imagine how scared I was as a 15-year-old. No adults inside, only me and these 10, 16-year-olds. I was hoping my crush would defend me. He was a nice guy, never laid a hand on anybody, always friendly, but he just laughed. They were telling me how they would rape me and he laughed. It took 2 more months before another girl had the courage to tell me what was going on. She used the word do in, and I was too flustered to ask if she meant the light version or all the way. When I told the teachers about the bet, about all the people who were involved, about how no one told me anything about it, not even the girls, they told me I had no proof, was imagining things again, and that boys will be boys with hormones. What can we do about that? It all stopped when I got a boyfriend that very summer who was 5 years older than me and would later turn out to be an abuser. He looked like he was 30 though, so I guess most of the guys got too scared to lay a hand on me. But yeah, that's how my crush lost my interest. Hey, we still good for tomorrow? Sorry, my boyfriend wants to come over. Great way to find out she both forgot about our plans and had a boyfriend. You shouldn't play Dungeons and Dragons, you know. When you cast the spells in the game, you're actually casting them in your spirit, and that lets the devil get into you. I was like, wait, and I'm supposed to be with the one who can't tell reality from fiction? Was crushing on this girl for fucking months, and it turns out at her last apartment, she stole $1,500 for coke and abruptly ended the lease, giving her 2 roommates barely any time at all to find new housing, one of which had to move back in with their abusive mother. Acting like a complete dickhead, and when I addressed it, he said, I know I'm an asshole, but I'm really sexy. Like, okay, suddenly you're not really sexy at all. We were 5, had planned to marry when we got older with a pancake cake and everything. I was invited to his birthday party and he and his friends was climbing a tree with him being higher up. Suddenly, he peed down on his friend. We never got married. I worked up the courage to ask this girl to go on a date. She said yes. On the date, she proceeded to spend the whole time gossiping about anyone and everyone she could talk bad about. I still remember the moment it clicked that she was just super shallow and mean. Not my crush, but someone who had a crush on me, or so I was told. She asked for my birthday and I told her. She then calculated that I was younger than her by a week or so and straight up said to me, I did have a crush on a guy, but when I found out he was younger than me, so now there's not crush. Damn, dude. LOL, what a dumb reason. My husband is 8 months younger than me, but born the same year. I love making cradle robbing jokes and telling him to respect his elders. He loves making old lady jokes. It's stupid, but it's fun to us. Threw rocks at a cat because she thought it was funny. I had a crush on a guy in 5th grade. He found out about my crush and made a really hateful nickname for me and teased me about my body. Got all of his friends to tease me too. Realizing he was a garbage person set me straight pretty quickly. We were out drinking, he got drunk and started fighting a guy that he thought had been harassing me. The guy said he didn't harass me. I said he didn't harass me. My crush still tried to defend me. Never lost interest faster. Dude, she knocked over my Lego Death Star. She had to go. Here's a lighthearted one. I developed my first crush when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade. This was around the time when Pokemon were first becoming really popular, so naturally I was obsessed with them. I had the cards, the Game Boy games, etc. One day I overheard the girl I had a crush on talking to her friends at recess about how weird Pokemon were, and thus in a flash, a young love was extinguished. Fast forward about 22 years and my wife also doesn't like Pokemon because life is strange. He was mean to his mom, demanded money from her so we could go out in front of me, and then called his grandma to get some more money so we could go out. So uncomfortable. Let me add more details. We were both around 21, 22. I met this person, drive from the Midwest to Dallas with him, and was essentially stuck there for 2 days before my train was scheduled to leave. This behavior was not acceptable at all, and I felt uncomfortable the entire time. Tortured a housefly and gave an oral book report trashing my favorite book at the time for being boring and having too many words. Then started bragging he could have any girl in the school he wanted. Shortest crush of my life. I misunderstood a comment and he was a dick about it in front of a few people, laughing at me instead of kindly correcting me. What a fuckhead. My ex-husband was like that. Any misunderstanding or asking a question for clarification was met with laughter and mocking. He even got his mom in on it. That shit wears you down so fast. By the time we were going through our divorce, I was convinced I was a total idiotic fuck up who couldn't try to do anything right. I was home at my parents' house and I did something really small. I can't remember exactly what, but it was like I spilled a bit of water or dropped a towel. I said, I'm such an idiot, I can't believe how dumb I am. My mom looked at me strangely and said, no, you're not. Why would you say that? It took lots of therapy and time to recognize and accept I'm not an idiot, but being told time and time again that I was, I started to truly believe it. That's a very long way of saying good for you for getting out of that situation, and yes, he was a fuckhead. I had been seeing this girl for 2 months in college and things were going alright. I was helping her move when she decided it was the moment to have a serious talk. She sat me down and in a very serious tone, she told me she had been doing some digging. She confronted me with the fact that I had dated black women. I kind of thought it was a joke at first. I guess my brain couldn't comprehend that this was still a thing. No, she was dead serious and explained to me that while she had nothing against black people, she didn't believe in mixing races. I was dumbfounded. I got up and walked out. My interest was waning because he would brag about how he didn't read or see any point to reading. I thought I could maybe change his mind but was on the fence about it, if it was worth it or not to try. Then I drove past him, parked a street or two over from his place, just sitting in his truck, smoking. Thought that was kind of weird but no big deal. Except when I asked him about it later, he lied and said he was at work on the other side of town, and besides, he didn't even smoke anyway. Helped me to decide he wasn't worth any effort after all, interest gone. To give more context, I was in grad school at the time, loved reading and learning, worked in a library, and was planning on becoming a teacher. I felt he probably had a bad experience with reading growing up, so maybe I could help him and bring him around. It's not that he just disliked reading, he was against reading. Like 80s movie Bully, reading is for nerds guy. That's so foreign to me that I didn't really think he was serious at first. Beyond that, we had multiple conversations about smoking, and he had told me unprompted that he didn't smoke, hated smoking, etc. Then he lied about it later. Looking back, the whole thing was shitty and a bad fit. I'm not sure how I stayed interested as long as I did. She asked me if I wanted to go to a concert with her, then she wanted me to pay for both tickets that I knew she got for free. Promptly laughed at her and told her she can fuck off with some other idiot. It's funny how fast the ugliness on the inside can overcome anything good on the outside. She did me a favor that day. Long distance, only online crush boyfriend. We were playing a modified TTRPG in the early 2010s, and we made the horrible mistake of playing versions of ourselves, same names, ages, etc. Lots of shit happened. But the thing that really made me feel like shit was when I felt like a third wheel with him and his best bro. We were playing in a survival setting, so we would delegate chores to make sure we had supplies, fuel, ammo, etc. by the end of each day. Every time my boyfriend would choose to go with his guy friend for things. I didn't mind the first couple of times, but I did kinda want a day where the two of us hung out. Since again, this was a long distance relationship. Never happened. The one time I forced the issue and said I was coming along to hunt or something, they just ignored me and did their usual thing. Joke's on me though, turns out boyfriend was deep in the closet and hanging out with his guy friend in game was him living out his fantasy of having a boyfriend. Not me, but my wife before we met. There was an event in Salt Lake City and she was from Northern Washington. She had a crush on this guy and decided to join carpooling with him and a couple other people. They stopped to grab some fast food and went back on their way. Well, as soon as he finished eating or drinking, he tossed the whole bag out of the window while driving. After that, she barely talked to him, and once they got to Salt Lake City, she left him and joined some other friends and went back home with them instead. A few things. She told me she hated how much guys share their feelings, emotions now. She said that if she dates someone, she wants them to be a typical man and not show any type of weakness. One of those things like, I don't want to hear if a man is sad or upset. I just don't care. She liked pretty heavy music, like progressive metal and hardcore music, which is cool. However, she didn't like anything else and would blatantly put down any other type of music and or not give it a chance. Almost make you feel stupid for liking anything else. Showed her a friend's artwork and her response was, yeah, not impressive. It would be impressive if they did X, Y, and Z. Like I understand that you don't have to like every person's art, but her demeanor about it was too condescending. Made fun of a chick who was into him for being chubby, he was fluffy himself, and I called him on it and walked away from that. Dang, how fucking much of a fuck up do you have to manage to have two girls into you and then go on to piss them both off at the same time? He said that he doesn't like ugly people and they all should die or be put in a corner. He drove like an idiot while I was in the car. I literally thought he was going to kill us, and he was road raging the whole time. This was on the highway too. I asked him to stop driving like that and he didn't. Never going out with him again. Same thing happened to me. Driving home from our first date, I wasn't talking much because the date had gone poorly and I felt uncomfortable. He got mad at me for being too quiet and pretended to fall asleep at the wheel. Leaned back in the chair, folded his arms, and closed his eyes. We were on the highway going at least 85. I had to grab the wheel to keep us from swerving. He ran a few reds once we got to my town too. Very unpleasant experience. Just because I enjoy the company of kids and babies, she told me I was a creep and a pedophile. Just because I love having kids around doesn't mean I want to have sex with them. Told me she has a crush on my brother. My brother and I look exactly the same. It's difficult even for our parents to tell us apart. One day, this girl came up to me after seeing my bro and said he's cute. I mentioned we look the same. She said, I'm ugly. This is me as well. My brother and I look incredibly similar in the face, but I'm sicklier and more asymmetrical from having a lot of medical problems as a kid. The difference in attractiveness ends up being monumental based on the small details. We're extremely similar as people as well, and yet most girls find him good looking, while most girls find me weird looking. They poked fun at my mom. Going to a primarily white school, him and a group of his guy friends always made fun of how she dressed and how short she was. I didn't super know him, but he was part of a group that did, and that's all I needed to know. My mom is this sweet short Asian woman who loves to smile, and yes, she sometimes wears goofy clothing, but no one makes fun of my mama. No one. Went on a date with a guy to a Chinese restaurant, and as we were leaving, he threw trash on the ground when there was a trash can a few feet away. Then we went to his house to watch a movie, and he picked his cat up by the scruff of his neck and threw it. Not a set it down to get it off the counter kind of thing, but a legit throw across the room. I left right then and there and told him why. He called me a bitch and a tease for whatever reason, never gave him the impression I was going to sleep with him that night, and was yelling at me as I was backing my car out of his drive. I got to the end of his road and blocked his number. Crush on a girl my junior year of college. She liked to heavily make fun of people, and I mean hard. Like to the point I would say hi to someone I knew. After we walked off, she would have some remark. She went from attractive to not wanting to be around her really quickly. I had a crush on the girl who lived across the street from me, who I had already been friends with for years. Once we were teenagers, she learned a new skill, how to cut real deep with words, like slicing your calf muscle with words. Holy shit, this girl could make your depression go into overdrive with a single sentence, and she got a lot of practice. You forget to ask her how her favorite show was the day after a new episode aired, and she would go over every sensitive subject you have. When she told me the day of my grandfather's funeral that my grandfather only died to get away from me, that's when I finally told her to go fuck herself, and that's when I learned that she can dish it but can't take it. Found out she was a cousin. We were in class together and it was all pure coincidence. Neither of us had any idea until a family member casually mentioned to me, "Doesn't her name go to your school?" Well, crap. I grew up in a small town and one of my friends was related to everybody. In middle school, he told his mother about the new girl he was seeing, and she had to break the news to him that he was dating his second cousin. Same, grew up in a small town and came from a big family. Anytime someone asked me out, I asked what their mom's maiden name was, as well as their grandmother's, because there was like a 95% chance we were related. I have roughly 200 plus first and second cousins. Dating was a fucking shit show to say the least. This guy who I had been talking to for a while on Tinder, who I thought was cool, cute, but he never seemed down to meet up. One time he randomly messaged me to say he'd gone over to someone's place and they had sex 3 times. I think he was trying to make me jealous, but it just made me feel a bit gross. I had similar. I had known this guy for a few weeks and finally had a date at his to cook me dinner. Texted him a couple of days before to say hi and ask him how his day was. He told me it was great because he had morning sex, then a good day at work, and then a date and sex with a totally different person. On the other hand, thanks for making it easy for me to dump you, and on the other hand, maybe work on not being a 100% asshole.